be showing you how to make this open back body fitting dress. So the first thing I did is to fold my fabric into two, and then I'm going to just measure out my shoulder. So the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 16 divided by 2, that's going to be 8. So I'm going to mark that here, just how you would normally do for your normal bodies. I'm going to come down, mark my armhole. So for that will be 20 divided by 2, so that's 10. I'm going to connect it up, join this line here. So the next thing I'm going to do here is this line is going to also be my bust line. So I'm going to come here and then I'm going to mark my bust measurement divided by 4. So that's the bust measurement I'm working with is 42 divided by 4, that's going to be 10.5, sorry. And then 10.5, I'm going to add 1 inch to it for seam allowance. That's going to be 11.5. So I'm going to mark it here. The next thing I'm going to do is just mark from my shoulder to waist, which is about 18 inches. So mark it down here. And then my shoulder to hip, which is somewhere here, about 24.5 inches. I'm going to just mark it here. So the next thing I'm going to do is come on my waistline. I'm going to mark my waist measurement divided by 4, which is 36 divided by 4, that's 9, plus extra 2 inches, that's going to be 11. So you see, for here I just divided my bust measurement by 4 and added 1 inch for seam allowance. Here I divided my waist measurement by 4 and added 2 inches. So for my hip, I'm just going to divide my waist measurement by, my hip measurement by 4 and then add 1 inch. So my hip measurement is 48 plus 1, that's going to be 48 divided by 4, that's 12, plus 1, that's 13. So that's the whole space here. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the dress length. So the dress length I'm working with should be 35, right? So I'm going to just mark 35. So guys, after that I'm going to add 1.5 to this. This is for my seam allowance. That's 1 inch for folding this end, and then half an inch for the half an inch for folding this, joining the shoulders. So that's basically the next thing I'm going to do is to come on this end here, subtract like 1 inch. So the end here, instead of the 13 I used on the hip, I'm going to use 12 on this part here, so that it will be pence. So that's 12 inches here, and then I'm going to come down on the hip by about 1 inch, right, which is here, and then I'm going to just connect it to this line. So I'm just going to mark it and blend it down here. So that's basically it here. And connect my waist, the bust to the waist, and then the waist to the hip. And then the next thing, I'm going to mark out my armhole this way, and then come down here by 1 inch on the shoulder slant here, and then neckline. So I'm going to make my neckline 3 inches by 4 inches for my front neckline, or 3 inches, 3 inches by 4 inches is what I'm going to use. So if you want, you can make it 3 inches by 3 inches, but I want it to just come down a little bit on the neck. So that's it here. And then I'm going to connect this shoulder slant to this top part here. I'm going to go ahead and trace this out. So guys, you see, I've gone ahead and cut out the front body. So with this here, I'm going to trace out my back bodies. So guys, I've gone ahead and traced out the back panel, but as you can see, I left about 1.5 inch at the center, but I traced every other thing the same, right? Apart from the neckline, I just left, this is for my zip allowance at the center back. So I'm just going to set this aside. I'll come back to this. So this back panel now, what I have to do is just check where the notch of this shoulder is, like the notch here. So this end here, I'll just mark it, I'll know where the neckline is. So this is where it is. And then I've measured from my shoulder to where I want the opening at the back to stop. So for me, that's about 15 inches, right from the shoulder down. So I'm going to just mark 15 inches all the way down. That is somewhere here. And then I'm going to mark it and then connect the line up, right? So connect it up. And then the next thing I'm going to do is just to give it a curve. So if you don't want it to, so if this is the curve I'm talking about. So if you want you can just make yours go in a little deeper, like go from this shoulder, put your hand in, like from this end you're going to put your hand in and then give it a curve this way, right? Like if you want it more open, you can just extend it a little bit in. But if you don't want it that open, you can just keep your hand straight and then curve it this way. So for me, I'm just going to go in a little bit and curve it out this way, right? So this is what I'm going to cut out now. If you look at it, so I'm going to just go in a little bit here. So guys, this is what I have. I've cut out this part. So now I'm going to open up this my zip allowance for the back. So guys, I have 2 pieces for my back panel and then 1 piece for the front panel. So the next thing I'm going to do is this front panel now. I'm going to come midway here, because you know you're supposed to cut out about half an inch here. So I'm going to check what is half of mine is about 5.5. I'm going to mark it here, and then I'm going to go in by half an inch here, like half an inch here, and then curve it out. This is so that when you put your sleeve in, it won't be bulky on the inside here. So I'm just going to trace this, cut this out, and then we'll go over to cutting the sleeve. I didn't cut it out initially because I wanted to use this back panel to trace out this front panel to trace out my back panel, because this here, this half an inch that I cut out here, I'm not going to cut it out and from the back panel. So I'm going to set this aside, and then we'll move over to the sleeve. So guys, I want my sleeve to be about 7 inches, so I need about 1.5 here to fold the end and also have a seam allowance here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come down by 4 inches here, and my fabric is already folded this way. So the width I have here is about my armhole divided by 2, right? So that's about, my armhole is 20 divided by 2, so that's 10 is what I have here. So then come down by 4 inches, and then the next thing I'm going to do is just put my tape from this end to this line here, right? And then the next thing I'm going to do is find my midway from this point to this point. So that's going to be about 5.5, mark it here, and then I'm going to come down here, just like giving it a shape of like half moon, and then I'm going to go up again and do the same on this top part here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to come down here and mark my biceps, like sleeve width. So round my sleeve, how much I want it to be. So for me that's 14, but I'm going to add 1 inch for my seam allowance. So that's going to 14 divided by 2, that's 7. I'm going to add 1 inch to it, so that's going to be 8. So I'm going to mark that here and then curve it to this point here. So I'm just going to cut this out, you see, facing it this way, cut it out, and then the same way this side here. So that's basically it. I'm going to go ahead now and start joining. So I'm going to go ahead and join my fabric. I'm going to join the front and the back, and then I'm also going to put that to the front of my fabric and then use bias all over the neckline. The first thing I did was to join the shoulder of the front to the back, and then put in my sleeve, closed up the side, and then gave it the dart. You see the darts? So the darts for the back, you see where it's placed here. I've shown many times how to put in this dart, and I'm just trying to get through the video because it's just supposed to be like a short video. So the next thing I'm doing here, you see my dart at the back came up to this opening here. So the next thing I did here is to use this here, just cut about 1.5 inch of fabric and then use it as my bias for all around the neckline. You see it's just long and goes up. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut off the excess, and then I'm going to just fold it this way. I also have a video on how to use bias, fold it in and then top stitch it this way, you see. So that's how I'm going to finish it up, and then when I'm done I'm going to go ahead and put in my zip. So this is the front here, you see the same thing. I'm going to finish it up, fold it in, and this is what it would look like, the neckline. So this is my dart in front, just how you normally put your dart, and then I'm also going to fold the end, and that's basically it. So guys, I'm done. This is what it looks like. I went ahead and added about 2 inches of fabric here, because I tried it on when I was done and it was too short for me. So I figured let me just add a little bit of fabric to the end. So this is the back. You see what I was saying about the darts. Make sure that your dart falls in line here, and then you use your bias to finish it. And as you can see, it's just a very short skirt zip that I used for it. So that's basically, this is just a simple style that you can do with maybe 2 yards of fabric or even 1.5 yards of fabric that you have left. So that's basically, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Bye.